Good morning. Welcome back to Marty's Tying Bench. This morning I'm once again putting together kits for the Vice Squad fly tying sessions, and this week I've chosen a good summertime pattern, Bars Net Builder. This is a good caddis, very common, always a good choice in the summertime. I'm tying it on a Dairiki Scud hook. That's number 135. This is a size 10. And you can tie this in a lot of colors. Greens, creams, bright greens, tan. Now for a tail, it's not really a tail, it represents the little claspers on the back end of this larva. I've got some ginger Zelon or Antron. And I'm going to start down the bend of the hook but not go too far. We are going to use the shape of this hook to imitate the kind of the curved posture that these things take when they tumble through the water. For the back, we're going to use thin skin. And this is, the pattern is called Fly Specks. And this color is olive and black. You can see it's pretty cool. Good little pattern on the back. Now when you trim this stuff, you want it to be about half the gap, maybe a little more. And it's kind of mesmerizing to try and cut with all those dots. So flip your thin skin over and cut on the white side. It'll be a lot easier to control your cuts. Now to get the vinyl separated from the paper, what you do is tear. And the vinyl stretches and the paper tears. Easy way to get the vinyl off. Now, I'm going to cut the end of this, not necessarily to a point, I'm just going to get a little bit of a taper on each side. And what that's going to do is make it a little bit easier to tie in. And now as I go back, I'm going to tie back even farther than I did with the Antron. So that'll guarantee that there's no thread gap in between your vinyl and your tail. Now I'm going to work down the bend of the hook to get that curve, but don't go down so far that you can't tie a dropper on the bend of the hook. Now this thing has a little bit of flash incorporated in it. It has a little bit of mirage underneath the shell back, so I'm using medium size opal. That's the really reflective stuff. And I'm just going to tie a strip of that on the top of the hook. And for a rib, we're using monofilament. I'm using the UTC Monofill. This is 3X. You can tip it straight off of your spools, but this is a little less expensive, and it's convenient to have it on a spool. Easier to transport and stores with your other spools. Okay. Now for dubbing, I've got some Life Cycle, the Caddis line of dubbings, and the color is pale green. Now this is a good time to pay attention to your proportions. You kind of want the back 2/3 to be green abdomen and the front third to be your dark thorax. So I'm going to move my thread forward and just kind of illustrate where that transition is going to be. This dubbing has a nice sheen to it. I'm sure there's some Antron in there. Now I'm going to spread this dubbing out before I twist it, because I prefer to have a nice fine dubbing noodle so I can shape a little better, and I can go back and forth and don't have to do it in one pass. Now I like to make one turn behind my monofilament rib. That'll make it a lot easier to jump it up onto the shell back when we pull that over. Now I'm building just a very slight taper from the back end to my 1/3 index here. But I need a little bit of bulk on the front part, so I'm going to continue to dub and taper it back down to skinny here right behind the eye. See now we got kind of that banana shape, kind of like tying a scud, where it's thin at each end and thicker in the middle. Now I'm going to use some brown ostrich, tie it in also at that 1/3 point. And here's where some, get that out of the way, rotating hackle pliers are very, very handy. I'm going to leave my thread there. See how that sinks into the dubbing without sliding down to the eye. And then I'm going to come right back to the thread. And there I got a nice plush few turns of ostrich, and I only had to use one ostrich feather. I didn't have to use two to get it that thick. Okay, now I'm going to pull that flash over, and you'll see it wants to slide off to the side, so I'm going to tie it in with just one turn right there at my transition, and then move my thread to the eye and tie it down again. Now I'm going to pick up my thin skin and pull it over the top and see that I get that flashy stripe right centered in the middle. Just a gentle stretch. Now this is a real loose wrap, and then you can tighten it down and get it kind of pointed at the front. And you see how my thin skin slid around one side? Well, with one loose wrap you just relax a little bit and you can pull it back up where you want it and tighten. Now it's straight. Pull the thin skin and the barrage back. Give it a little trim. And now we're ready to rib. And you want to rib fairly firmly. Get that monofilament to sink down into the vinyl a little bit. Then when you don't have to worry about it sliding off. Now this dark head is part of the fly. It's not just finishing your wrap, so take a little time and build it up. Shape it right down to the eye. Now all of the stuff, I didn't trim anything, so now here at the end I just have to pick up my scissors once and make 3 cuts, and I'm done. There you go, Bars Net Builder.